When I made the decision to come to Singapore with the specific intent of seeing watches, getting hands-on with watches and making videos about watches, I reached out to my local Red Bar group and asked them, where should I go in Singapore? And almost all of them came back to me with the same response: you must go to Red Army Watches. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James. You're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And as you can see, I'm in Singapore now, and I'm off looking at watches. And today, I'm going to be visiting Red Army Watches. Red Army Watches has been around since 2004. They have 2 store locations in Singapore, and plus a couple of others elsewhere in the world. And today, I'm going to be visiting probably the slightly quieter store, or at least what I hope is slightly the quieter store, so I can get some hands-on with some watches and also get some video footage to show you around the store. And Red Army, when I reached out to them, were kind enough to say, please feel free to come and have a look. And in fact, they're even going to open the store slightly early for me, so the customers are not going to be in the way for us. But I want to go to Red Army specifically because it was recommended to me, but also because of all the watches that they have on display. Watches that I just don't get hands-on with, especially in Australia. So they do have one store on Orchard Road, which I feel like is maybe their primary store. It's the one that I was going to go to, but I'm not going to that one. I'm going to go to the one within the Suntec City shopping mall, which I think is actually quite a good idea. Now, within Suntec City Mall, there is actually some other watch stores as well, but today we're going to Red Army, so let's head over there now. And as soon as I walked in, I have to say that I was just so impressed by, well, partly the layout, because it looked just very cool, eclectic, and had so many cool watches to see, but just the sheer variety of watches, styles of watches, and brands of watches, including this one, which is a Red Army exclusive watch, the SG60. Apparently this is a limited edition release. There's only about 288 of them, and it's celebrating the Singapore National 60th anniversary. Digital watch, one of those ones where you press the button and it cycles through. It's only available in the red, and it comes with this white and black strap. It's a magnetic strap as well, so I was being very mindful not to get that near any of the automatic watches, but it just stood out to me so much when I saw it. And looking down into the cabinets, I just kept seeing brand after brand after brand, all these Singaporean brands in the same cabinet. And I saw Feynman, and I thought, yeah, I really wanted to get hands-on with these watches. And then I grabbed 2 out of the case, starting with this super thin Fjord Core, the dive watch. It's a dual crown powered by an ETA 2895 and 40 millimeters wide. So it's actually not so thin, or when I was saying thin, I was thinking, well, not that one. It's probably the other one that's the super thin. Yes. Okay. So this next one, which I'm going to show you, this is the super thin one, the 8.6 millimeters thin, the newer version, the Feynman 6 ETA 7001 powered watch. This retro TV case, which, well, that's pretty cool as well. And looking over here, there's some heaps of other watches, and we've got Mitch Mason, we've got Tennant, and I have to admit I wanted to see the Mitch Mason, and when I didn't really expect to see Tennant, but as soon as I saw this one, I just had to get hands on with it. It is the Somerset Moon. It's powered by a Sellita SW210. It's 38 millimeters wide, but it's got 200 meters of water resistance. And I have to admit, when I looked at this watch, I just kept seeing detail after detail after detail, and what a beautiful looking movement. It actually blew me away, this one. And it blew me away that they had this watch in this store as well, because I wasn't expecting to see these guys at all. And it's something that I'll come back to a little bit later about that. But did you know that these guys also do a watchmaking course? It's a 1-day, full-day course with a watchmaker teaching you. I think they do it every Saturday at the pre-book. And what happens is you get to build your own watch, and not just put together a watch like you can do when you can buy components. No, you are actually assembling the entire movement during the day and then regulating the movement. And then you get to go home with the watch.
And something that is a little bit unknown sometimes by some people, they're thinking Red Army Watches has all these microbrand watches and Singaporean watches and what I call fun watches and interesting and a little bit bizarre designs sometimes. But they've also got a lot of very well-known brands like Seiko and Larco and Zeppelin and Oris and Orient Star. So although they definitely do sort of lean into the microbrand world, especially some of these really interesting and fun and completely different designs, they certainly have some very well-known and sort of big name brands too, as well as some of the well-known micro brands too, brands like Zelos and Baltic. And I was just so happy to see this MR01 because I've never had the opportunity to get hands on with it, and it's always been the one from the Baltic range that has stood out to me. This one has that micro rotor hang zoom movement. It's a 36mm case, and I think like a lot of people, this one has just really stood out to me, and it's just been so fantastic to now have been able to get hands on with it. And some people think the 36mm is a little bit small, but I think it's a perfect sort of size for that. In the center of the store, you're going to see a big cabinet that contains all Singaporean brands, and then there's even some sort of on clearance at the moment, so you get 50% off. But there's also some brands like this, as I mentioned earlier, like Larco and Zeppelin, and just well-known, big-known brands. So it's nice to be able to see some of these bigger brands, albeit perhaps not brands that I always see, but then also brands like Seiko, as you can see over there in the far left corner, then mixed in with those micro brands. So it's like a watch enthusiast paradise, this place. There's 7 Friday, which is not a brand I'd been able to get hands on with before. There's sort of some Swiss brands in there as well, which I've been really impressed by seeing. The Alexander Strokenkopf. There's also Artilia Wen and Boulder and Cigar Design and Mech Exp and Gruppo Gamma, which I was really keen to get hands on with. Unfortunately, they only had the one model this time, the Ventura, I think it was called. I really wanted to get hands on with this one because I've seen one of their watches before, so it was just nice to see another. In fact, I made a video about this brand before with the watch that I got hands on with, and I think so many people wanted to get to see this watch and see more of them. But this is actually a brand that I was really quite keen to see, Lucky Harvey, because I just can't get hands on with this one anywhere. So I grabbed 2 out of the case. I grabbed the chiming, the hourly chiming watch, which I think has been quite popular, and certainly people have been sort of focusing on it. But I can say the quality of this one is also brilliant, and that dial is just mesmerizing. I didn't get to hear the chiming sound, but I have watched videos about this one before, and it was very cool and it did sound very nice. But it was just the dial that just absolutely captured my attention on this one. And being an integrated bracelet, well, it was good to give this one a bit of a try on my wrist because I'm not a huge integrated bracelet fan, and this one was sort of pushing the boundaries even though it's not a very big watch. But apparently this one, the Dragon from Lucky Harvey, has been hugely successful here in Singapore. And well, perhaps it wasn't the one that stood out to me in the case, but it was just so out there, and apparently has been so popular that, well, then I just had to see it for myself in person. And it is, well, it's definitely a showpiece and certainly stands out. I think it's a 43mm, but a lot of curvature to it, and you can see it has that integrated leather strap as well, so it did curve down nicely onto my wrist. And it has been fantastic to also then see Cigar Design in the store too. The Blue Planet was there. Unfortunately though, they didn't have their new Blue Moon Planet. It had sold just before I got there. But I did want to give you a little bit of a sweep of the entire store so you can see a bit of an understanding of what I was seeing there. And hell yeah, Mitch Mason. I think this actually might have been one of the collaboration watches with Red Army Watches. I think they had one collaboration with them, but it was so nice to be able to see this Singaporean micro brand in the store too. The case side, how it curved down, how lovely it looked, and how sort of comfortable it was when you sort of touched it was a bit of a surprise to me. I hadn't expected that from this brand. I don't think I'd seen anything that showed it to this extent, but yeah, it felt very nice on wrist. It was nice to be able to get hands on with this one, and I think this one is a little bit more of an exclusive in the brand. This is their central sort of aisle of watches, which is really cool. There's just some brands and things that I've just never seen before. And this one I'd seen pictures of this one before. The Humanism, which is also a Singaporean brand. But again, just there's no ability to get hands-on with these sorts of watches unless you come to places like this. And it was my focus of coming to Singapore, but also specifically to Red Army watches, was to get hands-on and some on-wrist time with some of these watches. And what I love about a lot of the watches that I've shown you today is not all of them are particularly expensive. In fact, most of them are not that expensive at all, being micro brands. But, well, I have to say, when I saw this Nevada Gretchen, I think it's the Antarctic Spider, well, I'd seen videos of this one and I thought it looked sort of cool, but in person, oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful dial, beautiful case profile, but it was just the design of it that really stood out to me. And the Cyclops actually really adds to the design too, which, well, that surprised me somewhat too, but I did want to see what else they had as well, so I had a look at their dive watch from Nevada Gretchen. This is also in their Antarctic range, but it is their diver. Didn't stand out to me as much as the Spider, but it was really nice to be able to see two from the same brand, and in fact there were more in the case there. I just sort of grabbed the only ones that I could sort of really grab at that time, otherwise I was grabbing too many, but then I had to really refine all the watches that I had bought out of the case to find and look at. And these are the ones that I was really sort of drawn towards. And at this point, as I was looking at these, I was thinking, oh, I think I'm going to end up walking out of this store with one of these watches. And I was just trying to think, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to do this? I've just spent a heap of money on this trip. But I then said, well, this Tennant, honestly, one of the best watches I've seen in a very long time. And it is... well, it's firmly onto my wish list now because, well, this one here, the store exclusive GO60, that just had to come home with me because you can't get it anywhere else. It's limited to 288 watches. They are all individually numbered. And I thought, oh, that's something that I can grab. And it wasn't very expensive either, just being a bit over $300, I think, Singaporean. So I had to take this one home with me. It's cool, it's digital, it's something that I'm not going to see anywhere else. It's something that I can take home from the store. This beautiful red case. It only comes in that red, I think I mentioned that earlier. And yeah, it's super cool. And I do like this sort of one button press. So it does cycle through. You got the time, you got the date, you got the temperature as well, which that's quite interesting, as well as a stopwatch and a countdown, I believe it is. So I'm very happy with that, and I've been very happy to have gone to Red Army Watches today. Honest, thank you to them so much, and perhaps you'd like to check out one of these other videos next.